And I remember looking and stopping in my tracks and taking in what I just saw. And then I walked off the deck. Hi, my name's Tyler Muree. I am a Toronto-based actor, and I have a ghost story to tell you. In 2009, I was finishing up a contract with Muree Productions at the Royal Alexandra Theatre here in Toronto. And because it was the end of the contract, we were already thinking ahead to the next show. And I had a big callback in New York for a national tour of a big Broadway show. So, as I frequently did, I would often go to the theater early to use the deck, even though I knew I wasn't supposed to. I would use the deck as a nice big open space to rehearse and to perform. I always felt very comfortable at the theater, and the stage door guy always let us in, and it wasn't uncommon for a lot of us to show up to the theater, at 3 o'clock for an 8 o'clock show. We just liked being there. And in the time, during the 2 years I spent at the Alex doing that show, it was Dirty Dancing. There was a lot of ghost stories. It's a famously haunted building, and people would tell their stories. Crew members had stories that they would tell, and actors had experiences in their dressing rooms. Dressing room 10, the notoriously haunted dressing room 10, where the clothing racks would frequently be pulled down. The occupants of that dressing room came to work one day and their clothing rack had been pulled down. And anyway, I had never personally experienced any of these phenomenon. One time I thought I did in my dressing room, but I don't know if it's explainable by science. It's another story for another day. Anywho, this particular time, I think it was March or April of 2009, I was getting ready to go to New York for my callback. And I went on the deck around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The building was empty, I thought. I knew another cast member was upstairs on the 4th floor in her dressing room. She was there early as well, but as far as I knew, on the deck itself, I was alone. So I was doing my thing, using the space, singing and dancing, and then out of the corner of my eye, I saw a crew member walking toward me. And I thought, well, he's coming here to let me know, as I do know, that I'm not supposed to be on the deck by myself. So I turned to speak to him, and he took 3 steps towards me and vanished. Just gone. He didn't evaporate. There was no ethereal mist to it. It was just he was there and then he wasn't. And I remember looking and stopping in my tracks and taking in what I just saw. And then I walked off the deck. I wasn't terrified. I wasn't overcome with fear. I was in shock. He was there, and then he wasn't there. So when I walked off the deck, I went right upstairs to the 4th floor where I knew my castmate was, and I was like, you're never going to believe what just happened to me. And she listened to it, and I can't remember, again, because I was still in shock, I can't remember if she believed me or if it was freaky to her or not, but anyway, it happened, and then I went back to my dressing room and just kind of took it all in, and it was weird. Anyway, it got around the theater that night, and it just kind of spread that, Tyler saw something, and I was happy to tell anyone who would listen to it what I had experienced. And then one of the crew members came upstairs to my room and said, I heard you had an experience. Was that around 3 o'clock this afternoon. I said, yeah, about that. And she said, I saw it. I saw it happen. She was a sound technician, and she was in her office, and she had the monitors that monitor the stage, and she saw me doing my thing on stage. And then she said, it was crazy. You were doing whatever you were doing, and then you looked over and you stopped, and you stood there for, I don't know, 10 seconds, however. And then she said, you just walked off stage. And I thought, well, that was funny. And it wasn't till later when she heard, the rumor going around that I had an experience or whatever you want to call it, that she said, yeah, she didn't see anybody else in the monitor. She just saw me stop in my tracks and go. There's a lot of theories as to who it might be. I had a wonderful experience with two of my little cousins came to see the show, and I think they were around 9 or 10 at the time. And the two little boys watching Dirty Dancing, they're like, yeah, great, it was funny. But afterwards, when I was giving them a backstage tour and I was telling them some of the different ghost stories, that's when they were really interested in that. I think maybe more so than the show, who knows. But this same crew member kind of gave them a bit of a ghost tour around the Alex. And there's the two ladies in the box, and there's a lady who can be seen sometimes in the seats. There's the backstage, the one who rips the wardrobe rack down. And I remember when I think back on it now, I think like, oh, I had this really cool experience. I question whether or not I actually saw what I saw sometimes, but at the time it was so vivid. I experienced something I can't explain. I had another experience in my dressing room that I think probably can be explained, but this one can't be explained, and it was really cool. I'd love to spend a quiet overnight at the Alex to maybe hear some of the sounds that people talk about, some of the laughter and footsteps and noises that people hear. Ultimately, I think I'd be too afraid to actually go through with it. Who knows? But that's my story.